What's up, y'all? Keith Dykes here with W.K.D Construction, and welcome to my channel. Here we are. We're standing in front of the Melted Farm project. Man, it turned out. It's beautiful. I really like it. Miss Susan, she loves it. Everybody comes by, you know, just oohs and ahs over it. It's not a huge fancy house, you know what I mean? But man, it's got all the bells and whistles, and just turned out to be a really good build, really good looking house. On today's video, we're gonna get into putting on the Diamond Kote board and batt siding. This was the first time that I used the Diamond Kote brand siding. Majority of the time, if I do get into solid, it's usually a fiber cement type of siding, but I kind of was leaning towards this. The waterproofing, the painting on it, the Diamond Kote part is supposed to be just unreal, super, just very protective. Got a huge, I think it's a 50, I want to say it's like a 50-year warranty on the paint. So the people that actually came up with Diamond Kote, it's like in a really wet area for like up in the Northwest, like Washington State and stuff like that, where they get a great amount of rain. It's always moist and wet. So that's kind of the general area that they came up with the Diamond Kote in, you know, for that region. I was a little excited to use it because I've never used it before. I've never installed the LP. The Diamond Kote is basically LP siding with whatever Diamond Kote does to their product. So it is a wood product. It's the first time I've used a wood product siding, but it was very easy to work with. I do like that. It's not as breakable as fiber cement siding. You got to be really careful carrying different pieces with the fiber cement. The Diamond Kote, you don't. One person can handle a 16 foot board, 12 inches wide or 16 inches wide, no problem. I mean, it's easy to maneuver. You can hold it out flat, it bows, it's not going to break. So that aspect is a lot nicer. The dust part of it, I did like that better. Fiber cement, you've got all of the silica and all that crap you've got to deal with. You're holding your breath while you're cutting and everything. Of course, you do have sawdust with the wood product. It's basically it's an OSB with a hella coating on it, is what it boils down to. And before we installed the Diamond Kote, we used the Zip System rain screen. So I'll put a link right here and you can watch that. I posted that last week prior to installing the board and batt by Diamond Kote. Let's get to it. Well, I'll show you the process, or my process, that I use to install the vertical board and batt siding. And then before the video's over, I'll walk around and kind of show you some of the end result here. Alrighty, we are finished with all of the rain screen stripping on the back. So now we should be ready to start installing the vertical siding. So we're going to set the laser up and just go to town. We will leave a gap at the bottom. Like I said, we are going to have, I think I'm just going to use a piece of 7/16 inch green board and zip wall and set it on that. And then I'll probably leave 3/4 or so at the top. And like I said, then we'll come back, put a 1x4 and then our battens on and cover up the 3/16 gaps on the vertical siding.
Is that 6 inches or no?
No. That is not right. Nope. Not at all.
Damn.
Steve made a little story pole for nailing. That way our nails are 6" on center is what Diamond Kote recommends, 6" on center. And then our nail gun is sucking balls. That the nails keep coming out of the plastic. So it's probably the nails, I guess. Maybe May's nails needs to readjust their.
Yeah, they need to get a meeting with Bossage.
Well, once we get a system down, it will go a lot quicker, but we're just starting on it and just trying to get everything figured out. But the most important part of this whole thing is the consistent reveal on top of the water ledge flashing down there. That you're going to see that will never be covered up. That has got to be right on. So we're going to have to take extra time to make sure that reveal is super consistent. It needs to be on point, son. I'll give you a little peek down here. Beautiful, look at that. It looks pretty dang good. Of course, our battens will go on top of here and stop flush with the bottom of the board here. So that'll kind of take a little bit out of, away from your eye. You won't see it as much if the shadow isn't consistent. But you got to keep it right. So we're going to keep it right. And around the windows, I'm going to keep a little gap around the windows with the siding and then come back and caulk it. I think I'm going to caulk it, but I think I'm going to get some frame expanders and put on these windows because it just looks so much better. And a frame expander goes, that's what this little groove is for in all of your metal clad windows. You can add trim to that. And a frame expander is basically a flat piece of metal with a just a little profile that fits inside there. You take a little rubber mallet and beat it into place. You cut them to length, but it'll look like we framed out the window with a 1x4. Basically, is what it'll look like. But there'll still be a little gap in behind it. Of course, we got our battens. Are going to be coming up under here, so they will almost touch. But that's why I'm not going to put a drip cap on these windows, because the window itself underneath the siding is perfectly waterproof 100%. Everything is taped and the windows are installed properly, so water is not going to get into. So with that being said, water is not an issue on top of the window, especially in here. I mean, the whole dang thing's covered up. It's really never going to get any blowing hard rain on top of the window anyhow, unless you pressure wash, but that'll be it. And to keep our reveal consistent, just got a little piece of 7/16 sheathing and then a little shim, just to kind of clamp, just to kind of keep it on there where it's not going to move everywhere. Try to keep a 3/16 gap around our mounting block there, and I'll go ahead and I will caulk 3 sides of it. We'll leave the top. That way, if water ever did get in there, it can come out of there. But it shouldn't be an issue, being it's covered up on a porch. Well, we found some nails that worked. This is what we were using. They've been a pain in the A. Every time you go, they're barely in the plastic collet, and they come out and misfire. So I bought these. Wire colleted, and we haven't missed a beat. So unless somebody else has got a different gun, I'm using a Bostic siding gun, and it does not work with these at all, or I haven't had any luck with them. So somebody else might have, or a different gun might work well with them, but my Bostic does not. All right, since we've got bug screen up there and I want ventilation to go from the bottom, we got bug screen on the bottom, bug screen at the top. I want that to be able to ventilate through there over time. So I just took just a 1/4 inch shim, and just gonna leave a 1/4 inch reveal all the way across the top. That way air can ventilate through that. I wish it was a little tighter, but that's just what it's gonna have to be. So now we're gonna install the battens. These are 2.5 inches wide. They're pre-made, painted all the way around. Just a little thinner than the trim. This is I think it's a 1/2 inch, somewhere in there. Yeah, right at a 1/2 inch trim. The 1x is of course 3. It's a little shy of 3/4. But so now we will butt the trim, figure out where center is, set the laser up, and nail them all. On your butt joints, like where we got our 1x, you're supposed to leave a 3/16 inch gap, which we had the other day, but I think it's swelled up just a little bit. We've had a lot of moisture in the air, very humid, so I think it's tightened up a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and caulk that and show you how we do that. This little painter's tape. Here's the caulking that comes with the Diamond Kote. It is Dynaflex, DAP Dynaflex 920. I think this is very similar to the OSI that is color matched for the James Hardie siding. So once you put it on, it's kind of hard to tool. If you tool it, it kind of boogers it up a little bit. So, but being on a flat joint like that, I am gonna put it on there and then smear it in. But since I've got the tape, it's not going to matter if I smear it in. I can then just peel the tape right off. And this is the first time I've used this and that type of caulking, so being white, it won't chalk over. But like on the OSI quad, if you tool it and smear it, it will chalk over. You can't touch the bead, because if you do, it will chalk over and turn like we did a bunch of tan, kind of a tan, like a, can't remember the color on the Hardie, but it was kind of a dark tan. And yeah, anytime we touched it, man, it would just turn almost white within 6 to 8 months. All right, we have we got an inside corner that we got to make. There's probably 2 ways you could do it. One, you could mount 1x4s on to the flat and then butt your siding to it. But I just opted to use 2 pieces of the batten. I ripped one down the thickness of the batten. That way when you put them together, you got equal sides. And I'm just taking the rip side, painting the edge to seal it up, and then we'll just probably staple it or screw it together and then just install it as one piece. Here is our inside corner, ripped, of course painted all of our cut edges, and then I took a bead of the DAP and put it in between it, stuck it together, and then we just simply stapled it. That way we've got a pre-made inside corner. Now that we have all of the battens nailed on, I will just take some touch-up paint. They sent, you can order a Diamond Kote touch-up paint, the one you just prime all the edges if you're cut wood with, and just go back and paint the heads. And when you nail on your battens, try to keep an eye on the flushness. That way you don't get too deep into the batten. Try to keep it just a hair proud, and then just take a hammer and just kind of smack it just a little bit. But we kind of had to keep an eye on it because it will drive them a little deep every now and again. So we got the corner posts mounted, and I like to just go ahead and run it all the way up, and then we will butt our trim to it. And I don't know if we're going to be a band. We may put a band to separate the top from the bottom. You don't have to on a single story on a gable. If you go 2-story, you do have to band it. So I don't know if we're going to band it yet. We might, but if we do, then the banding will just square butt into the corner trim. But that's the best way I think it looks. Just notching that corner, making it go all the way up instead of stopping it underneath it. Plus the corner, this is 1 inch thick, and our band will be 3/4, so it'd be kind of hard to match a 3/4 band with a 1 inch corner coming up. You'd have to make up that difference. So this is the cleanest way to install that and make that corner. But look at that bird box, beautiful. Since this corner is 1 inch thick, we did not put the rain screen in behind it. And then we just used the GRK 1.25" fasteners and screwed it on. But it is setting on the sheathing on the zip wall, and then our zip rain screen goes over the top, of course, with our bug screen at the bottom and a gap at the bottom. That way water will dry out from there. So we are keeping our 7/16 gap at the bottom, about a 3/4 inch gap at the top for ventilation, and then here 1/8 inch gap around all of our pre-flashed meter base mounting block. I don't know how I'm going to finish that off yet. I don't know if I'm going to take a piece of trim and go around there or not. I don't know. Kind of looks kind of junky. I don't know. We'll see. I may end up doing it. I don't know yet. Here is a pre-made Diamond Kote I guess you call it J block, light block, whatever you want to call it, but it's got a flat piece of, I don't know, whatever that is, vinyl stapled to a board, and it's got a little head flashing on top of it. So we're going to install it right there on that light right there. So we just mounted it with some GRK fasteners, and I put a little zip tape on the head flash, and that way if water does get up there, just come over the top of it, which we still got the rain screen, so it doesn't matter. But we don't want water getting in behind and getting down into this point. Now we're going to get into kind of a little different situation with the door jamb here. I didn't want to put the casing on the flat, because by the time we put our siding and our zip screen, if we put our trim flat, unless I'd had to have a 1 inch thick, but I don't have any 1 inch thick trim. I got 3/4. So by the time we fur this out, I had to fur this jamb out to the thickness of the siding, and then we'll come back and put the trim right on top of it, and we'll do a little head flashing detail up top above the door, so since we don't want water getting down in behind there. So before we go any further, I got to make the trim for the door, and I am going to use something special. If y'all don't have one of these, I know they're expensive as hell, but man, they are worth it. The Lamello Zeta P2, man. This thing is freaking bad. Badass. And speaking of badass, my badass extension cord with the Pro Lock end. Plug it in, if I can. There we go. Now it's locked in there. It will not come apart unless you pull that back. So no more tying knots in your cords to hold them. Badass cords, get you one. I love mine. So these fittings have got a little, or this hole has got a little slot in there to allow for that little slot. Slides in there. Now that cannot come out. It's got a male side to it. These are the Tenso clips, P14. Slide that one in there. And now those will snap together and hold it at 25 pounds of pressure each clip. So very cool fastener there. Oh, did you hear it? Here, come hold this over here. Yeah, maybe not. This is what I come up with. We got our trim set in here. I've got my reveal, so I went ahead and snuck my trim in there and just set it set. Then I got my head flashing, which is a piece of aluminum bent with a hem all the way to the wall, and then we zip taped it. So now we are going to run the siding, which we put a slit in the siding. We'll slide it on the side, piece the top in, piece the bottom in, piece the top in, piece the bottom, and we'll slide this piece in, and then we will have our flashing done correctly to when the trim gets tucked underneath it, the water we can still come down the siding and out on top of the trim. Too long and need to notch just a hair more. Or is it good? No, it's right there in it. So now we got expansion all around the light block. Got a little expansion for water to get out of there. And then our trim will tuck nice and neat under there. Once all the board and batten, the vertical siding and the battens are installed, we'll go back and start touching up all the nail heads, all the siding nails, and caulking all of our expansion joints like what met the corner here. And that caulking is a very good color match, so I was pretty impressed about that. And then Diamond Kote has its own touch-up paint, which we use those to prime your ends after you cut the wood. So I'll just show you what just what I'm gonna do here. Make sure your nail heads are nice and flush. I mean, you still gotta fight with the nail gun here and there, but overall try to keep them just a hair proud. And then if you need to go back with a hammer, you can kind of smack them in flush to the surface. And then I just got a little cheap brush, little dauber. You could probably use a Q-tip. I use the little foam brush too, but this seems to work pretty good. And the paint matches really well. I'm very tickled by that, because you can just kind of dot those, and I mean, they blend right in. Very, very, very good touch-up paint. And how we swapped nails, we were using the maize nails, which had the plastic collets, and they would not shoot. They would fall out of the collet. So I swapped to a wire colleted nail. We have not had any problems, except the wire kind of sticks out of the nails from time to time, like right here. So before I paint it, I'll just take a pair of pliers. These are actually wire strippers for electrical, but they work pretty good to hold on to the wire. Just kind of break it off. Now it's smooth, and now we can paint it, and it won't be an issue. On the meter base, I just opted not to trim around it. I thought it kind of looked not very good, so we just run our battens in there, left it nice clean cuts around it. Here's our door trim after we got it installed, the head flash and everything. I think it worked out pretty good. I got to caulk the side of that, but we did leave the battens up off of the flashing there, as well as the top of the light mount right there. I am going to go get some PVC board, and I'm going to make a little fur right there. I think that's my plan. I don't know, just kind of hold it stiff, and I don't want to use wood up against there, because water could get in here and rot that out. So I'll probably just do some PVC board in behind here and clean that up where it's mounted solid. We got a bug screen up top as well, because we will have to ventilate each section, because we're going to run from top to bottom. I don't think I'm going to do a band board. I think we're just going to go from top to bottom with our siding. Track saw for the win. We got the laser set up, and we are plumbing all of our panels, but there's been some discrepancies with the panels. They're bowed. Some of them are bowed. You can kind of see it's kind of tight here, kind of gets wider and then back to tight. So some of the boards are actually bowed, I guess, from the factory. I don't know. This little section done. We got the lift back in here. Doing up top, got the laser set up. Laser works pretty good. It's kind of faint at the top. The laser's definitely good. It's a time saver. You don't have to sit there and pop lines every time. Just set it up and go. And then we'll have a 1x4 trim. We got a 1x4 trim with a little gap for our ventilation, and we'll do the same up top. We'll run a 1x4 and then butt our battens to it. So we got the aqua faucet on the front, and I kind of had to do this. I did not want to do that, but my block, by the time I had it flashed, was my battens was going to stick past it, so I kind of trimmed it out. That way we can kind of cut it off on something, kind of make it look half-ass good. I'm not happy with that at all, but oh, I don't know. What are you gonna do? Sometimes you just gotta back up and punt, make something work. I mean, it looks fine, but that's not at all what I wanted to do. Oh, we gotta get a push on that one. So we're just using a stick, about 1/8 inch for our spacer, to keep our ventilation crack pretty consistent. looks fine. So we're installing these full pieces up to the top, and like I said earlier, they are bowed for whatever reason. So Brent's starting to nail them at the top. It's kind of hard to see the laser, but I'm having to pull it over in the middle, and then once I get to the bottom, I got to use a cat paw or a flat bar to get it back over to the line. So you would think, it being an engineered product, it would be straight. Why wouldn't it be straight? I don't understand. But anyhow, we've been having to worm a lot of them, most of them, to try to keep them half-ass straight. I'm installing the casing around the front door, and of course I've got the Zeta P2 Tenso clips onto my header. I got the female pieces on top of the side pieces of casing. So I'll just put a little caulking in there and I'll snap it in. Beautiful. I'm going to use the trim gun to nail in around on through the jamb, because I don't want to use a big galvanized nail head out there. Finish it off, nailing it around the outside with the siding nail. Alright, so Brent and Steve have got all of the siding up here on the side, put the rain screen and then the siding, and we had a tricky, very tricky situation right there on that knockout flashing or bump out flashing, whatever you want to call it. That was kind of the only thing I could come up with to make it work. But we kept about a 3/8 gap in between the metal and the sidewall flashing. That way, water gets on it, it does have room to dry. You don't want that sitting on the roof to hold that moisture. So there's plenty of nice gap, very even, and they did a really good job on the siding. All right, so this bump out flashing is very important because you need the water to get out in front of the siding. If I didn't have that, water would just come down and get in and just funnel right in behind there, which, I mean, it's not too bad since we got the rain screen, but you still don't want it in there, you know, repetitively. And I couldn't get this one whole piece on at one time, so we had to put a little Z flash, and we put this bottom in, cut this, so I could get that little notch over the top of that kickout flashing. I'll pour a little water on it and show you what I'm talking about. Oh, here we go. See how that water gets out in front of the siding. I may have to, when we ever get the gutters on there, I may have to make a little extra piece of flashing to get it to get off out into the gutter. Maybe not, which the gutter's not going to be setting up directly against the house anyway because of that little piece of trim. Yeah, very important. Kick out flashing, get it out over onto the top of the siding, and you should never have any problems, since the water will be on the outside and dry up. I have seen it where it comes down and it goes right into behind it, and yeah, we had to replace sheathing, we had to replace the siding. It was bad, and it was fiber cement, and it had rotted the siding. The siding had crumbled. It had fallen apart. You wouldn't think fiber cement would disintegrate, but repetitive water infiltration from the backside, I guess, it will definitely fall apart. Ooh, it is cold this morning. I think it's about 28. Good frost. One day we'll get all this crap moved out of here. But Miss Susan wanted to add on those little roof parts. She's been over to my house on my barn. I have this kind of same setup. I've got a gable front. I've got a garage door with a window up above it, and I have a little roof over each section. And we got a little cedar wood accent kind of holding it up. And she wanted to duplicate that and asked if I could, and I was like, yeah, most definitely can. So that's what Brent and Steve's been working on for the past few days. Is they built the roof over the bottom. We got sand seam metal on it. It's all flashed. We did use some coal stock, and I didn't like that, so we're gonna take that off and go. And actually, I had some metal bent. I was trying to utilize something I had at the time, and it's not going to work. So I just went back, got some black metal bent up. They're going to put that flashing on, get it flashed up top, and then we got 3 gooseneck lights that we're going to install on either side of the door and one up above that window. So looking pretty good. Whew, it's cold this morning. Brent and Steve's been working hard outside. They've got the roof built. I was just going to show you this. We had to basically, I guess, waterproof everything from the top down. We kind of had to start at the bottom with our siding, go up, and then we created a transition with some metal on there. That way we've got somewhere to start our siding. I didn't want our siding just to be showing out the bottom, so we used a 1x4, did a Z flashing, taped it, and then we will start our other siding on top of it and go up to the top of that window. And we may do this little transition detail at the top. I don't know yet. So he's looking good. Man, super tickled. She had a little dirt work done and had some ryegrass planted, so she's gonna have to get them back over here and do a little touching up. Still got a little things she got to do from little landscaping and stuff around the house, but overall she just put some seed out just to kind of keep it from washing. Man, it's really slick. I really like it. Turned out really good. So everything up top turned out really good. All of our ventilation gaps. Ended up painting all the trim around the door black. Made some wood shutters. Got the columns going. The rain chains. Looking slick. That's the bird box detail. You can kind of see the caulking starting to push out right there. We had a 3/16 inch gap But once it warms up, that wood expands and it will push your caulking out a little bit. But overall, looks really good. Got the wood stamped concrete, all the stone, everything transitioned really well. All of our bird box into the soffit. So very, very happy with the way it turned out. Very workable. Like I said, oh, and right there, that was 16 feet. So we had to put a transition board because our siding wasn't long enough to make it all the way to the peak. So we just put a transition, kind of did like a little gable trim and Z-flashing and continued up. Look at that porch. That is nice. The ceiling is a 1x6 tongue and groove poplar. Got the stamped, roll stamped porch here. Of course, the stone, lighting, fans, and then ventilation. You've seen the corrugated pipes hanging out in the video earlier. This is what we did here. So that is exhaust for the range, and then those are the exhausts for the bathrooms, the little smaller ones. But use the round downspouts on there. Just makes it look a little classier. Kind of see the transition up top we had to do. On the fascia, I mitered all of my outside corners, and I talked to Diamond Kote exclusively, and they said that is fine. They say don't miter a flat board like your 1x4 right there. So if you got a flat trim board, 12 feet long, 16 feet long, and you miter it to butt it together, don't do that, because they don't honor that. But you can miter the end of it like I did right here. I mitered all that because I didn't want to see the raw edge of the wood. And like I said, that is perfectly fine. I've had a lot of comments that it wasn't going to hold up. That's been about 6-8 months. A lot of rain, a lot of weather on it, and it's still holding tight. I put the DAP sealant in between all of the joints, and man, it's held up really well. All right, y'all, that's it. That was my video on how we installed the Diamond Kote board and batt siding here at the Melton Farm project. I think this gets all of the exterior buttoned up here on the Melton Farm project. So man, it makes me feel good to start, you start a project from nothing and end up like this. I don't know, it just makes you feel good inside, but we still have to finish out the inside. I mean, we don't now, we've already finished it out. But I do have quite a bit more content. We still got to tile the shower, backsplashes, put the cabinets in. So we're just right at finishing this up. Miss Susan's she's been living in here probably 3 months now, I guess, something like that. So, but that's cool. She's very happy. So I had her make me a list. I told her, once you start moving in here, if you see some stuff that needs to be addressed, you just write it down. So we came over, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she had a pretty short list, but we did a punch list, got everything knocked out here. It's hard to see stuff if you're not here every day. So I like my clients, after they get moved in, just to kind of, if they see something that needs some attention, write it down, let me know, and we will come fix it. Once again, I am Keith Dykes. This was the board and batt siding at the Melton Farm project. Thanks for watching, and as always, got it, coach. You guys have a wonderful day.